What's going on, guys? Mikkel here, and today I wanted to get into some breaking news in the Ripple XRP versus the SEC lawsuit. I also wanted to provide you guys some more information that goes with my video I did yesterday, where I talked about how this SEC lawsuit was all a convoluted plan to give XRP clarity in the market, and it was really a lawsuit that they were going to lose the entire time, and they knew it. First, I want to thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. You guys have been doing awesome. Keep liking the videos. It really means so much and really will help me in the future be able to put more time and energy into this channel. So thank you so much, and let's jump right into this video. The first thing I want to point out, because I think this is massive, from here, James K. Filan, the SEC has filed objection to Ripple's letter requesting 3 additional documents be reviewed in camera based on the privilege log. What's pretty interesting about this, and I didn't realize this at first, but essentially what's going on right here, and as I'll read Jeremy Hogan's tweet first and then explain it to you guys, the SEC sent an email to a third party telling them to analyze a digital asset using the factors in Hinman's speech, which speech was just his personal opinion. Obviously, if they're sending out advice to third parties citing Hinman's speech, it proves it was never a personal opinion to start with, and this really just makes their entire case fall apart, because honestly, one of the biggest concessions made in this trial was saying Hinman's whole speech giving Ethereum clarity was just his personal opinion and wasn't the views of the SEC. Well, apparently Ripple has information they obtained from a third party saying that they were told to use that speech to make decisions based on digital assets. If this is true, it shows that the SEC essentially persuaded Hinman to lie in his deposition in a court setting that it was his personal opinion, when the entire time it was really the SEC's view. I think this was already pretty obvious to the judge, but this is just a cold hard proof that it really was never his personal opinion and it was SEC guidance the entire time. This alone has potential to completely unravel the case and bring the SEC to the table for a settlement. I really think this is the SEC's last hope, because if it's shown that if the judge obtains and sees these documents, it really shows that the SEC has almost no case that they're fighting for, and this entire thing was just done really without any factual basis behind it. And if they have to make up things and convince people to lie in depositions, I mean, that's just a horrible look, and really is going to set Ripple up perfectly for their fair notice defense that the SEC really cannot let them win, because it would open up the doors for every single crypto project in the industry. I thought it was really interesting because I was looking this over, and essentially Ripple essentially is saying that the SEC had these documents the entire time and knew of those and purposely submitted them after the hearing for the privilege log. They say that the SEC actually produced 19 documents after the court had ordered for the in-camera review, and then they kind of came through and said, oh, we also have these 19, but I guess you can't use them because we brought them too late. And the SEC is coming back with some convoluted excuse, saying, at the end they even say, oh, it might burden the court if you have to look at these extra documents. I mean, it's really all a joke, and some of you might be thinking, like, oh, if you think this was all a plan, how could, why would they be doing this when they just give over all the documents? Well, just because it was all a plan to start doesn't mean the lawyers aren't going to fight this tooth and nail. It's still, the SEC can still milk money out of this, and to be completely honest, it really doesn't matter what the SEC argues, because they're going to lose no matter what. So they're going to use these dirty tactics and try to sneak stuff by. But I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and I can see how blatantly obvious this is if the judge orders for the privilege log to come in, and then 2 days later the SEC comes through with critical documents. She's obviously going to want to see them. And the funny thing is Ripple even took down, they didn't even say, oh, you have to look at all 19. They said you have to look at 3. So the fact that the SEC tries to argue it's a burden to the court is really just a joke, and really shows how desperate the SEC is to fight this tooth and nail. And that's pretty much the breaking news in the case. Like I said, this will essentially destroy all the SEC's credibility on this case. It will hand Ripple the fair notice and force the SEC to settle. And I have a feeling the SEC is already in the process of settling, because if we see right here, SEC files for seal agreeing with Ripple on the irrelevance of a third party. And this has to do with defining how XRP sales over the last 8 years were considered securities. The main thing we can take from this is that this is all information that means almost nothing for Ripple to seal. They could care less and would probably rather expose the SEC. They're doing this because the SEC is asking them to, and really proves that settlement is already in the works. I have a feeling that it always has been, and it's just a matter of time for them to go through these last couple procedural things before it's announced. Ripple wouldn't be sealing these documents if there wasn't something in it for them, and I have a feeling they already have a lot of what they want, and it's probably just coming down to this last fair notice decision, whether the judge is going to look at these documents, which I think she will, before this case is finally settled and we get the resolution we've all been waiting for. The last thing I want to point out is just because the SEC is fighting tooth and nail in this case does not mean it was not all a plan. I think this is just proved by the fact that Jay Clayton sued Ripple and then left office. If he thought they were going to win, he would have done this earlier in his tenure and really came out and fought Ripple himself and exposed them, because he would have wanted to take credit for a lawsuit he knew he could win. This was the perfect way for him to say, sue him, get out of there, know that there was no chance they were going to win, not take responsibility for the lawsuit because he's out. Gary Gensler can be like, oh, well, I don't know what happened in the administration before me. And it just sets Ripple up to be given clarity in a court setting. Like I said in my last video, if the whole plan was to keep holding Ripple back and not allow them to go forward, then they would have just not said anything and not sued them and let them sit there with no clarity like the rest of the market is going to have to do until Congress steps up and makes laws. The crazy thing is really all this lawsuit did was give Ripple an advantage to fight a completely, one-sided court case where they're blowing the SEC out of the water, and the people inside the SEC knew this was going to happen because they were there the entire time. If the SEC had not sued Ripple, Ripple would be in a worse position now, because now they're getting the clarity they need. All the other projects out there are now not going to have the clarity because Ripple and the SEC are sealing all the documents, so that Ripple will be let through the door and everyone else will be stuck with the door slammed shut on them, just like what happened previously. This isn't necessarily I want, but for my opinion, it seems like exactly what's going to happen, because it seems like this entire time the SEC realized, or the SEC was told essentially by a higher up organization, look, you need to let them through the door because Ripple is going to be heavily integrated in the new financial system, and we're done waiting for lawmakers to figure out what's going on here. You need to figure out how to give Ripple clarity, or XRP clarity, and the best way to do that was to file a lawsuit they were never going to win, with merits they knew were horrible, and it was so bad that they could just file the lawsuit, let the lawyers fight as hard as they could, and they just knew they were never going to win. If you have the SEC hasn't won on a single point. And the people, Jay Clayton, knew this was going to happen. In my opinion, it was obviously all a scheme. Even though it doesn't look like it, that's the whole point. You could have the lawyers fight as hard as they possibly can, and there's just nothing they could ever win, because they were never on the right side of the law. They never had any evidence to go with them. And I think this just is further proved by everything we're seeing now. I think it becomes more and more obvious as time goes by. And when Ripple eventually settles, I think it will be the ultimate reassurance that this was all a plan. Because to be completely honest with you, if the SEC really wanted to kill Ripple, hurt Ripple, not give it clarity, they would just keep fighting this and bring it to trial, because in the end, the judge probably would have a nightmare on her hands trying to make this decision. By hashing this out with Ripple and allowing them to settle, I just think it gives them the most clarity. And overall, I just think, yeah, I think this is going to go wrap up in the next month or two, and it's going to end with a settlement giving XRP the clarity it's needed, while every other asset continues to have no clarity, and people will go on saying, oh, this lawsuit was a blessing in disguise. Well, it was really always a blessing, because it was all a plan all along to give XRP clarity. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this is at least a different perspective that you guys might not have taken into account. Make sure you keep subscribing to the channel, guys. It means so much. I want to keep doing videos like this, and I'll make sure to do a special video once this lawsuit's over. Thank you so much, and for now, Mikkel out.